Gentlelady from California is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. First, let me thank the gentlelady from Florida for yielding and for your leadership on so many issues, especially as it relates to your community, your district, and Haitians in Haiti and in the in the diaspora. Thank you. I rise in support of H.R. 1016, the Assess and Progress in Haiti Act, legislation which I authored to direct the United States government to report on the status of humanitarian reconstruction and development efforts in the aftermath of the tragic earthquake of January 12, 2010. And let me thank Chairwoman Ross Layton for your leadership and for your assistance in helping bring this bill to the floor. Also to Ranking Member Berman, Chairman Mack, and Ranking Member Engel, and the staffs of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and also to my staff, also to the Republican and Democratic Leaders Office for bringing this bill to the floor. I would also like to acknowledge the hard work of my Congressional Black Caucus colleagues. You just heard from Congresswoman Maxine Waters in terms of her leadership and her commitment to the people of Haiti, and so many others who have worked tirelessly in support of the Haitian people and ongoing United States humanitarian and reconstruction efforts in Haiti. Today we are provided with an opportunity to not only remember those who have lost their lives, but to reaffirm the commitment of the United States to support Haitians as they struggle to combat the ongoing cholera epidemic and to rebuild their neighborhoods, their country, their lives following the devastation of January 12th. Following the earthquake, many of us came together to pass a bill that I authored, H.Res. 1021. This was passed by an overwhelming bipartisan vote of 411 to 1. This resolution expressed solidarity with the Haitian people and our support for the long-term reconstruction needs of the country. Through the bill on the floor today, we are provided with the next step, with an opportunity to assess the progress that we have made, the extraordinary challenges that remain, and the areas in which improvement is greatly needed. I traveled to Haiti immediately following the earthquake, again in November during Haiti's recent elections. Many of us have been many times over the years. And once again, let me just say, I saw real progress that has been made. Of course, the cholera outbreak, an ongoing devastating setback. This, though, revealed the ramped up capacity of Haiti's national laboratory. The lab was able to identify the cholera strain very rapidly, improving our ability to respond to the outbreak, a feat that would really have been impossible just a year earlier. However, significant improvements remain desperately needed. The unprecedented relief effort has given way to a sluggish, at best, reconstruction effort. Part of this pace can be attributed to the sheer magnitude of the problems Haiti faces, as well as Haiti's legal and bureaucratic hurdles, including the lack of adequate land tenure policy. Without a doubt, though, part of the blame rests with the lack of urgency, mind you, the lack of urgency on the international community's part. At the International Donors Conference in May 2010, 58 donors pledged over $5.5 billion to support Haiti's action plan for recovery and development. According to the United Nations, as of March this year, only 37% of these funds have been dispersed. This is unacceptable. If we are to break the cycle of disaster, emergency relief, disaster in which Haiti has been trapped for many years, we must act with the same sense of urgency in reconstruction as we did immediately following the quake. In addition to delivering on our promises, we must ensure that those promises are in line with the will of the Haitian people. The international community recognized early on that if our efforts were to be sustainable, they had to reflect the priorities of the people of Haiti. The establishment of the Interim Haiti Recovery Commission was a very good idea in this regard, and moving forward, we must ensure that it's inclusive, transparent, and adequately resourced. Additionally, we must substantially improve our communication with and participation of Haitian civil society. The United States and the United Nations are sponsoring outreach for civil society organizations. However, many Haitians still hold the perception that recovery efforts are dominated by exclusive foreign actors. Unless civil society, the people of Haiti, are involved at every major stage of the post-earthquake response, this perception will remain, and it will prove detrimental to the sustainability of our efforts. In this vein, we must give special priority to programs that protect vulnerable populations, including internally displaced persons, women, children, persons with disabilities, and others. We must ensure that, may I have an additional 30 seconds?
Yes, the
Gentlelady is
gentlelady's.
recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. We must ensure that these populations are significantly involved in recovery efforts, which reinforces their protection. The United Nations Secretary General, for example, has specifically stated that women should be involved in security decisions that affect their daily lives as a means of combating the alarming level of gender-based violence since the earthquake. On the topic of vulnerable populations, we must take a critical look at the resumptions of deportations to Haiti. Given the fragile state in which Haiti remains, I call on the Department of Homeland Security to halt deportations until it proves that its policy does not violate international human rights laws and until it demonstrates that Haiti is able to support the influx of deportees. If we are truly committed to helping our neighbors, we must ensure that we are not assisting Haiti with one hand while undermining its stability with the other.
Gentlelady's time has expired.
Do you have time for another 30 seconds?
Go right ahead.
Thank you very
Take as
much.
time as you
Finally,
need.
Gentlelady is recognized
and
for an additional
lastly,
30 seconds.
thank you again. We must continue to support the Haitian Public Health Ministry to prevent the spread of cholera, treat those affected with the disease, and build up health systems. The international community must plan for the long-term presence of this disease, unfortunately, which is now endemic, and provide the necessary resources to ensure that the planning is thorough and complete. Throughout this unceasing series of tragedies and crises, Haitians have continued to demonstrate unwavering resilience, dignity, and courage. So I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I thank you very much for the time and also for your leadership.
Gentlelady's time has expired.